Well, I was going to say good morning, but good afternoon, everyone. Hope you're having a great day. Not the start to it, but good to have you on here. Deed, you are the first one up today. And welcome to you. Susan, how are you? Rosa, good afternoon. Can anybody let me know if this is the first time on and if this afternoon time was good for you? Linda, good morning. Leanne, Helen, how are you? Lisa Marie, good afternoon. Stacy, how you doing? Susan, we appreciate you coming on. Elaine. Okay, Rebecca. How are you, Rebecca? Nicole, how are you? Nick from our staff. Wendy, good afternoon. Rita. Catherine. And Vera. We still got some questions, from Friday that I didn't get at, so we'll do that today too. Derek Lee. Bernice, Newfoundland. Beth. Bertha, Mary, Belinda, Margaret, Terry, hello, Joey. And Joey saying, first time seeing you in the PM. Well, how do you do? Jasia, Lynn, Dorothy, another Lynn, but Line, a Dale, and Jeanette, and Claire. I hope this was a good time for you guys. Okay? Claudie, how are you? Mary and Barbara and Sue's in Ottawa. Sue, how are you? And Rita from Hearst, I think Linda and Louise and Bruno. Guys, much, much, much appreciated. Okay? Now, AJ says, what does fatty tongue look like? I don't know. I don't know. I think we touched on it the other day. Because I've never measured a tongue. I've looked at a lot of tongues, get patients to stick out their tongue. I was usually looking for candida yeast, but I never measured the circumference to find out if you had fatty tongue. I'm just telling you about the research on fatty tongue, okay? Anyways, we talked about, could Dr. Martin talk about the implications of a high-fat diet on someone without a gallbladder? Well, you might have to go easy. You see, your body, okay, Carla, your body has plan B. Your body has plan B. Your gallbladder does not produce bile. It is a reservoir for bile. So you will produce bile even without a gallbladder. The problem is, okay, fats, because you don't have that reservoir, you might have to go lower fat. And it's amazing, your body gets used to it. Your body gets used to it. Just don't overdo it. You can do the reset, but you might have to cut back on fatty portions until your body gets used to it, okay? But your body's smart. It's your liver that produces bile, not your gallbladder. Your gallbladder is just a little wee reservoir. It's a little, like a cup where it keeps the bile. Okay. What causes sarcoidosis? Well, that's an autoimmune disease. I've never seen a case where sarcoidosis and usually affects the lungs. It's autoimmune. Where does autoimmune start, guys? Where does it start? In the gut. Leaky gut, leaky lungs, fungus, candida, yeast. Big problem, Margaret, with leaky gut. Does sugar alcohols like erythritol and xylitol feed candida? No, not like sugar does. Now, the only problem with sugar alcohol, so erythritol, xylitol, maltitol, you got to be careful, guys, that it doesn't cause digestive issues. For some people, they can't digest that very well. So be careful about that, okay? But generally, erythritol is one of the best as far as insulin, as far as, you know, your body able to take it. Xylitol too these are what they call sugar alcohol, and they do not feed candida, okay? Sharon's asked this question, can you reverse osteoporosis? Yeah. Well, look, the idea with osteoporosis is to put it at bay so it doesn't get any worse, and you can't. And remember, what makes strong muscles? You will never reverse osteoporosis without weight-bearing, weight-resistant exercises. You need weight-resistant exercises. And so that's really important. Like vitamin E is the most important. Walking is good, but not for osteoporosis. Once you have osteoporosis, you have got to do resistant. The stronger your muscles, the more they attach. You see, the muscles anchor into the bones. And the more you anchor your muscles into those bones, the more the bone puts down mineral. The bone puts down more bone to hold that anchor, okay? So that's number one. Number two, vitamin K2. You need vitamin K2 for osteoporosis. Vitamin D obviously is a bone-building vitamin, but vitamin K2 is very, very important because it'll take calcium that you're eating. If you're eating eggs, meat, and cheese, you're eating calcium, and calcium will be deposited where it belongs, in the bones and not in your blood vessels, okay? Not in your blood vessels. So, osteoporosis, the best thing about osteoporosis is preventing it in the first place. What you do in your 40s, what you do in your 50s, really has a huge impact on your bone quality. Some people just don't have the bone quality that, other people have. They have a weakness for some to start. But again, exercise, eating eggs, meat, and cheese, the reset is tremendous for osteoporosis. One of the biggest problems in vegans. Now, let me just say one thing. There was a movie, a big splash on the weekend, called The Eternals. Okay? And one of the stars in there was Angelina Jolie. Do you know who I'm talking about? Pretty famous movie star, isn't she? Well, she used to be a vegan. And then she realized how sick she was, and she decided to eat red meat. And she said she's never felt better, and that veganism was killing her. You want to have bad bones, folks? You want to have bad bones? Then be a vegan. Be a vegetarian. Your bones need red meat. Your bones need eggs, meat, and cheese, okay? So remember that. Pauline is saying, can Dr. Martin speak on bioidentical hormone therapy for menopause? Well, yeah, I can. Bioidenticals are natural estrogen, progesterone. You need a prescription for them. Here's the problem I have, okay? Here's the problem I have. I've got two problems with bioidentical hormonal therapy. I find, number one, I find the labs to be very, very untrustworthy. Okay? I just find when they do blood work for hormones, like estrogen, progesterone, I just never found it to be that accurate. I was a big guy on questionnaires and saliva, urine. Much better. But anyways, that's one of the problems I have with bioidentical therapy. Number two, in my opinion, okay, number two, the addition of estrogen. The addition of estrogen should be, in my opinion, discontinued. I don't like estrogen, not that I don't like the hormone estrogen, but I don't like the addition of a bioidentical with estrogen. And I get it. I understand why they do it. So you get doctors and they know, look, you're in your late 40s or 50s and your estrogen is going down. So in their mind, they go, well, I'm going to do a bioidentical and I'm going to put estrogen in there. I don't like that. I never have liked estrogen, not to give. I believe that estrogen is a growth hormone. Estrogen is a cancer promoter. We live in a world of phytoestrogens. We live in a world of xenoestrogens. And, with all the soy-based products and the xenoestrogens, all the chemicals, all the plastics, all of the fragrances, all of the cleaning, anything that's you can't pronounce in the name is a xenoestrogen in your body. You know what I find? The key is not estrogen. Estrogen, we got it coming out the wazoo. There's too much estrogen in the world. It's one of the biggest factors in cancer is estrogen-driven cancers. Ladies, listen to me. Any cancer, breast, ovarian, uterine, cervical, these are all estrogen cancers. You add estrogen with insulin, another growth hormone, and you add stress, cortisol, and you have a perfect storm of cancer. This is why I'm very, very careful to put my name to bioidentical therapy, because I found the vast majority of physicians that did it, again, I don't want to be negative. I just found the vast majority of physicians were poorly trained in it. Poorly trained in it. In bioidenticals. Okay, so it's a good question, but I am very careful. And men, when it comes to prostate cancer, that is an estrogen and insulin-driven cancer. Estrogen, insulin, bad combo. You want to have bad skin? Put estrogen and insulin together. Weight gain, put estrogen and insulin together. They're a bad combination. And the prostate will grow, men, as estrogen. Not testosterone. Estrogen is a huge, huge factor. Okay. Tammy, here's what she was asking. We didn't get a chance the other day. Researchers found that elevated levels of choline and betaine, commonly found in red meat and egg yolks, was linked to aggressive prostate cancer. What are your thoughts? Tammy, you're asking the wrong guy. It's fake news. I know, there's so much indoctrination, and the researchers found. Guys, can I tell you something? Men, women, eat your eggs. Eat all of the egg. Eat the yolk. It used to be the bad guy because of cholesterol. Now they're saying choline? Folks, think of your brain and choline. How could an egg be aggressive in terms of promoting cancer? How can it be? It's nature's perfect food. There's nothing in an egg that's not good for you. Nothing. There's no carbs. It's protein and perfect fat. It's so nutritious. All your B vitamins. How could that be an aggressive cancer promoter, Tammy? And again, I appreciate the question, okay? I do. But I just got, it's because whenever I get my blood pressure going, I have to talk it out. Otherwise, it won't come down. But I know, I read these things too, Tammy. I read them every day. I read these things. But don't you believe it for a minute. Eggs is what you want if you do have cancer. You want to be eating eggs every day. If you don't want to get cancer, eat eggs every day and have bacon and eggs. Have sausages and eggs. That's not cancer promoting. And again, red meat, it's so vilified. I can't get over it. How vilified it is. But it's not true. It's fake news. Cancer feeds on sugar. Not on fat, on sugar. Okay? The CAT scan or the PET scan, right? A PET scan, not for your pets. It's a cancer-specific scan, only works with glucose. Hello? That ought to be a clue. If glucose in cancer makes cancer light up like a Christmas tree, I think you should avoid sugar. N'est-ce pas? Right? So again, Tammy, I appreciate the question. I really do. But they're wrong. Eat meat. All meat. Eat steak. Cancer hates steak. How's that? Cancer hates bacon. How's that? It hates it. A cancer cell can't feed on red meat. There's no nutrient for it. Your immune system, your Navy SEALs, your T cells, your immune system, you better equip them with vitamin D, Viderma. Anyway, I'm glad you brought it up because I don't mind, repeat. Joe is asking about salt. Doc, I have high blood pressure. Should I limit my salt? No, limit your sugar, Joe. Limit your sugar. They blame salt for what sugar does. Now, again, I just repeat for our new viewers, there's different types of salt, okay? I'm big on Himalayan salt, pink salt. I'm big on, a good quality sea salt. I like that stuff. Table salt, I'm not big on that because that's sodium chloride. It's really stripped away from all of its nutrients. Salt is you cry salt, Joe. You taste salt, your saliva is salt, your blood is salty. If someone called you salty, does your wife call you sweetie? Well, you should be called salty because we need salt. And we lose, when you eat a lot of sugar, do you know what? One of the things you lose is a lot of salt. And you lose your good salts, like magnesium salts and potassium salts. Okay? So there you go, Joe. Tell your wife to call you salty, not sweetie. Here's a question from Suzanne. Again, we appreciate it. Thank you, Suzanne. Are potatoes bad for you? How about rice? How about fruit? Suzanne. Potatoes, look, okay? You have to understand where I come from. Are potatoes really bad for you? No. Yes and no. Yes, if you are metabolically unwell. 88% of the population, I repeat that number all the time. If you're part of the 88% of the population, my name is Tony and I'm a carbaholic. If you're part of that population, 88%, potatoes are bad for you. Potatoes turn to sugar rapidly. Therefore, you're going to need a lot of insulin, Suzanne. Okay? So if you're metabolically well, you want to have a baked potato and the odd treat of French fries or whatever, well, you know what? It's not the end of the world. But don't ask me to give the seal of approval, the Dr. Martin seal of approval on potatoes. I won't do it. Ordinarily, whatever is grown in the ground, not in the above the soil, but in the soil, are more starchy. Starchy means sugary. They're more carby. Potatoes are very carby. And they got some vitamin C, the other vitamin C, by the way. But again, you got to figure yourself out. I was talking to someone this afternoon and I said, look, don't fool yourself. Don't be deceived. The worst deception is self-deception. Don't be deceived. Figure yourself out. Okay? The Bible says the heart is, is deceitful above all else and desperately wicked. So, because we try, it's so true, because we try and fool ourselves. Oh, I'm not so bad. I can have this, I can have that. And, like you fool yourself. Like, just understand who you are, okay? Just understand who you are. And then figure that out. I'm big on a treat. I'm big on rewards. But the best reward that you will give yourself is health. Think of any other investment. Is there any other investment as good as an investment in your health? It's very easy to become unhealthy. It's very difficult to become healthy, especially in this day and age. We don't live 100 years ago. We're not living on the farm. We sit most of the day. Not everybody, but most people. We don't exercise enough. We are consuming 200 pounds of sugar a year, where 100 years ago they weren't even consuming 25 pounds of sugar a year. We live in a different world. So rice, again, China, rice, they live on rice. They really don't live on rice. They love rice, but they love fish too. And you know what I mean? Like they don't have near the problems with insulin, like we do. But they're getting there. That China's getting there. China's population, because they're introduced to fast foods. Anything that becomes convenient, like a fast food. Uber Eats, Well, you introduce our food to the Chinese and they get unwell. You introduce it over in Europe and they get unwell. We introduce it up into the Arctic where, they get unwell. So, good questions. What about fruit, Dr. Martin? Well, look, fruit are God's candies. And again, if metabolically you're doing all right, I talked to you the other day about Ashton Kutcher. Is that how you say his name? I think it was 2013 or 2014 he did the movie. It must be movie day. We started with Angelina Jolie. And I talked to you about the guy playing Steve Jobs in the movie Jobs. The Apple company. That guy lived on fruit. And so when he decided to play the part, he figured, okay, I'm going to eat just like Steve Jobs did. Well, you know what? Steve Jobs died in his 50s of pancreatic cancer. He lived on fruit. We live in a different world. I love fruit too. I love God's candies. But limit them. I've done, if you go back in our podcast, you will see that if you have a banana, you might as well have, is it 49 M&Ms? Is it 49? I can't remember. That's a lot of M&Ms. There's a lot of sugar. So it's no longer an apple a day keeps the doctor away. It's no longer that. Got it? Okay. And again, I don't want to be negative. I don't. And I never tell anybody you can never, ever, ever have another potato. I don't do that to people. But if you're a diabetic, that might be your Christmas present. That's it. Like, don't live, you better not eat that stuff. Or you'll never get rid of your diabetes. And diabetes, when you don't get rid of diabetes, it never ends well. It never ends well. Okay? One more question, even though we had more. Okay, Dr. Martin, this is from Jose. Yeah, we got a few others. I'll probably do this tomorrow. There's some good questions here. What are the worst plants for lectins, Dr. Martin? Lectins. Potatoes. Tomatoes for lectins. And guys, okay, let me tell you something. Okay? For 30 days, I keep you off lectins. There's a reason I do it. Okay? I want no lectins. I want no oxalates. I want you to eliminate that. I have a reason for that. Lectins can irritate the gut. But I'm not telling you can never have another tomato, right? But if you're asking me the list, tomatoes for lectins, they can cause leaky gut. They don't always cause leaky gut. They can cause leaky gut. More particular, they can irritate a leaky gut. Okay, I've read books where they say lectins and never have another lectin. I don't believe that. Okay, but I find that when people stick to eggs, meat, and cheese for the 30-day program, it is incredible. Okay, so, but the highest ones are bread in lectins, pasta, potatoes, tomatoes, okay? Those are high in lectins. Anything else there? Beer. That's high in lectins too. So you're not to drink any alcohol for 30 days. In beer, again, I have reasons for that. Okay, I'm trying to empty your liver. No alcohol. And beer and yeast, they don't get along too good. Okay, and I'm trying to get rid of all your yeast and all your candida. So Jose, thanks for the question. We appreciate it. Okay, so tomorrow, Lord willing, we'll be on at our regular time at 8:30 tomorrow morning, okay? So we'll post that. We'll be back on at 8:30 tomorrow morning. Wednesday night, if you haven't signed up yet, we're having a question and answer night. Tony Jr. and I, featuring Tony Jr. He don't need his dad to answer questions, but he invited me to come along, okay? So that is Wednesday night. Register, and don't ask me how to do that, okay? But you can register. That's Wednesday night. I think you'll really appreciate it, okay? So you get to see Tony Jr., the brains of the operation, okay? He's like his mother. He's the brains. And someone asked, like, Tony, what's his education? Well, he's got the same degrees as me. He's very smart. He's a smart boy, okay? He likes to be behind the scenes more, okay? Daddy's out front and he's in behind. But he's the brains of the operation, okay? So that's Wednesday night. You can sign up for that, okay? Register for that because the space will be limited. We had to close it off last time that we had that about 3 or 4 weeks ago. Remember when we had one? And we had to close it off because it gets over a certain number and then we can't invite any more people into the webinar. So sign up for that today. Okay, guys, we love you. We'll talk to you soon.